Okay, so let's start our part 3 of our diesel construction and function. Okay, so for two-stroke crosshead engine, we have here a crankshaft. So crankshaft is on top, is put on top of our bed plate, so the crankshaft. So the crankshaft is the main rotating component of a diesel engine, so it converts the reciprocating movement of the piston to rotational movement. So it collects power from power generating units such as firing cylinders and transmit it to consumption units such as the propeller, shaft generator, flywheel, and the units in suction stroke. So it converts linear motion to rotational motion and distributes the axial and rotational forces generated during ship's movement to the ship's hull through axial and rotational bearings. So what are the parts of our crankshaft? So on the other side of our crankshaft, we have the flywheel. So there are gears on the flywheel so that our starting motor or our turning gear motor can have a gear here to connect or rotate the engine. Next, we have the crankshaft. Okay, the crankshaft has its main journal, crankshaft journal, main journal, and then it has a main bearings. And then here we have a crank web. This one is the crank web. And as you can see on the crank web, there is a fan fan like a fan on this side of the crank web. So these are the balancing or the counterweight. And then on the other side of our crank web, we have here our crank pin. Some call it as the connecting rod pin. So some call it crank pin. And then there are also big end bearings on the crank pin or connecting rod bearings on some. They call it also connecting rod bearings or crank pin bearings. And on the other side of our crankshaft, we have here the vibration damper. Okay, so our crankshaft has a drilling hole drilled at an angle then capped off. So there are holes here so that our lubrication can enter inside the bearings of our crankshaft. So main bearings, the crank pin bearings are all lubricated by force. So for marine diesel engines, we have a force type lubrication. Okay, on the other end of our crankshaft, we have the vibration damper. So a high frequency movement resulting from twisting and twisting of the crankshaft is called harmonic vibration. So each piston and rod assembly can exert over a ton of downward force on its journal. This can actually flex the crank throws in relation to each other. So if you do not control the vibration, serious damage can occur. So a vibration damper or harmonic balancer is used to control this vibration. So the damper also cuts load variation the engine timing belt, chain or gear so they last longer. So the vibration damper is a heavy wheel mounted on a rubber ring to control harmonic vibration. So it consists of two metal rings, the outer inertia ring and the inner sleeve, separated by a ring of rubber. So the balancer is keyed to the crankshaft snout. This makes the damper spin with the crankshaft. Okay, on the other end of our crankshaft, we have the flywheel. So it stores energy from the power strokes and smoothly delivers it to the drivetrain of the vehicle or ship between the engine and the transmission. So it releases this energy between power impulses, assuring fewer fluctuations in speed and smoother engine operation. So the flywheel is mounted at the rear of the crankshaft near the rear main bearing. So this is usually the longest and heaviest main bearing in the engine, as it must support the weight of the flywheel. Okay, crankshaft. So there are different types of crankshaft. We have the fully built crankshaft, usually on our smaller engines like cars. So these are fully built crankshaft. On bigger ships or bigger engines, we have the semi-built crankshaft and assembled crankshaft. Since the parts are bigger, so it is very difficult to create a fully built crankshaft for a bigger engines. So these are the three types of crankshaft. Fully built, semi-built, and assembled crankshaft. Okay, so our crankshaft, our crankshaft is very important. So to prevent damage on our crankshaft, so we have bearings. So some bearings have oil groove here. like this, so that the oil can enter inside the bearing. This one. Okay, so on this one, this red one are the main bearings, and the green one are the crank pin bearings. So this is the front journal. We have here the vibration damper, and here is the, maybe we have here the other end, flywheel. Okay, so also we have another bearing, which is the thrust bearing. So transferring thrust loads applied to the shaft and preventing the shaft from drifting to the axial direction. So that especially if it's connected on the propeller will give a thrust towards the engine, and to prevent damage on our crankshaft, so the thrust bearing will absorb the thrust motion of our propeller, or thrust force in the propeller, to prevent damage on our engine, especially the crankshaft. Okay, so let's go up from the crankshaft. The connecting rod is connected. So connecting rod is fitted between the crosshead and the crankshaft. So going up, it converts reciprocating motion. Supply oil from the crosshead to the crank pin through bores for cooling and lubrication. So this is a connecting rod for a 4-stroke engine, since it has a counterweight. This fan part of our crank web. So why do we have counterweight? So in 4-stroke engines, since there is it is not like the 2-stroke, in which in every rotation there is power. So for our 4-stroke engine, the first rotation, for example, we start with the power stroke. So power stroke and the exhaust stroke is the first rotation. On the second rotation or revolution of the crankshaft, we have the intake and compression. And since intake and compression has no what we call rotating motion, so especially during the compression stroke, in which it is very hard to compress air and the piston is going up, so to prevent so that the engine can rotate on its second revolution, there is a counterweight. So for example, on the first rotation we have the power stroke, then our counterweight will rotate because of the power stroke, the pushing of the combustion chamber, and then the counterweight will create momentum, and then on its next revolution, in which we have the intake and compression stroke, so the counterweight's momentum will create revolution for our crankshaft. Okay, next, connected. So here, this is our crankshaft, and then connected is the connecting rod, and then we have a piston rod connected on top of the connecting rod. So there is a piston rod. So the piston connects piston rod connects the piston and this is the crosshead. So we'll discuss this later. And then here below the piston rod there is a stuffing box. So the stuffing box prevents this one. So the stuffing box prevents the lubricating oil from being carried upward, and also not allowing the compressed air from the scavenged space to leak down into the crankcase. So the stuffing box casing, which can be split vertically as shown in the photo, contains a series of scraper rings and sealing rings, which are each made up of 3 or 4 segments. So the rings are either bronze or can compromise to replaceable cast iron lamella fitted into steel backing ring. Okay, and then the one connecting our piston rod and our connecting rod is the crosshead. So the crosshead connects the piston rod to the connecting rod. On the other side, the crosshead pin are mounted the crosshead sleepers and shoes. So the sleeper shoes run up and down in the crosshead guide. So this is the guides. This one. These are the shoes or sleepers. Down in the crosshead guides, the piston rod are reciprocating. It prevents the top of the connecting rod from moving sideways. So it absorbs the sideward motion. Eliminate the side load on the piston and the center liner by transmitting it to the engine structure instead of the piston. So supply lubricating oil to the crank pin, bearing, and the piston. Allow the free movement of connecting rod outside of the cylinder. The pin is highly polished to a mirror finish. So this is the piston and the piston rod of a two-stroke engine. So we have here piston rings. 1, 2, 3 piston ring and an oil scraper ring at the last. Okay, we have here the piston. So the piston oscillates inside the cylinder liner, pressing air and receives force from the expanding gas during combustion of air and fuel mixture inside the combustion chamber. So deliver the power from the cylinder to the crankshaft through the crosshead and the connecting rod arrangement. Compress the air-fuel mixture during the suction stroke. Seal the combustion chamber and prevent the blow-by of hot gases. Pistons are cooled either using water or the crankcase oil. So in this part, we have the crankcase oil. We usually use the crankcase oil for cooling down the piston, since there is a high temperature heat, 300 degrees Celsius, and if you use water, so it's likely, it will likely evaporate rather than cool down the piston. So a forged steel piston rod is bolted to the underside of the piston. Okay, so inside the piston there is a hollow. It's like our bone. There is a bone marrow. So the hollow part of our piston, oil enters inside with splash lubrication in here to cool down the crown of our piston crown, the blue one. And then the hot oil will go back to the down the engine in the crankshaft. That one. So for in Wärtsilä engine, Sulzer, so we have a nozzle. So this nozzle will create high pressure and then spray the oil into the piston crown, that one. And then the oil will go back down to the crankshaft. Okay, this is a piston connecting rod of 4-stroke engine. For 4-stroke engine, so there is no piston rod. So it is directly from the crankshaft. We have a connecting rod directly to the piston. So no more piston rod, no more crosshead, no more stuffing box for our 4-stroke engines. So the parts of our piston for 4-stroke engine, we have the piston head, piston crown, compression ring, and then oil scraper ring, the wrist pin, and snap ring in here to prevent the wrist pin from sliding out. And we have the piston skirt in here. So the piston, since we don't have a crosshead for our 4-stroke engine, so our piston skirt is longer on our 4-stroke engine. But on our 2-stroke engine, they are using a mini skirt, or like a mini skirt. So our 4-stroke has a long skirt. We have a connecting rod here, the bearings, and the connecting rod cap. Okay, so we have shell bearings on our connecting rod and crank pin bearings. So this shell must be checked regularly. So like this, if there is a scrape, discoloration, or just a little dent or a damage on our shell bearing, directly replace the shell bearing and check if what is the cause of the damage. If it is poor lubrication or there is a damage on the moving part, so double check, then replace the damaged part, or like this one. It's, as you can see the picture, there is like a scrape on this side, so replace it directly. So don't wait to replace a bigger part of the engine. So since a shell bearing is very small, very thin, so replace it directly, replace it. Don't save your spare parts. So it's better to replace as a little shell bearing rather than replacing a whole connecting rod, a whole crankshaft, or a whole engine, or a whole engineer also. Okay. Piston rings seal the gas space by expanding outwards due to the gas pressure acting behind them. So this is our piston rings. So these rings spread out on our piston, and then it is installed on different angles from each other to prevent leakage of the exhaust from top to bottom. Okay, like for this one, they have three compression rings or piston rings, so they are putting it 120 degrees from each other. So they also spread the lubricating oil up and down the cylinder liner and transfer heat to the liner walls. The piston rings are made up of alloying cast iron with chromium, molybdenum, vanadium, titanium, nickel, and copper. So harder than cylinder liner, in which they run to give them a maximum life. When overhauling the piston, it is important to check the ring grooves for wear and the piston ring condition. Okay, so let's have a recap. So on top, we have here the exhaust manifold. We have here the cylinder head. On the bottom, we have here the turning gear. This one's the turning gear. We have the flywheel. And on this side, we have a vibration damper. Okay, we have here the crankshaft. We have the connecting rod. This one's the connecting rod. We have the crosshead. The piston rod. Here is the stuffing box, not fixed, not moving. Stuffing box. And we have here the piston. So those are the parts that we've discussed on our part 3 of the video. So I hope you learned something, and please do subscribe and like our video. Comment if you want to share more information. And thank you for the support. See you on our next video.